Hey guys, UndergroundMangaverse here, bringing you another One Piece chapter review. But before we get into that, we got some big news to go over. SBS number 98 just came out this week, and boy, do we have some stuff to talk about. So the first thing I want to go over in this SBS happens to be the names in Kaido's crew. Now, we all know that Kaido's crew is structured around playing cards and different playing card games that you can play with them. The Toby Ropo are all based off of versions of games that you can play with playing cards. The numbers are obviously the regular number cards. King, Queen, and Jack are all the face cards. But what's interesting is that we have Doflamingo down at the bottom, and Oda states that he was originally supposed to be a part of Kaido's crew and the final confrontation with them up on the roof. And we know that Doflamingo's underground name was Joker, so he would be a part of this crew and he would fit. So that's just crazy, because if the Supernova had to go up against Doflamingo, Kaido, and Big Mom, I don't think they would stand a chance, because we saw how crazy Doflamingo was in the Dressrosa arc. So Luffy against him in Gear 4 probably would be taking a lot of his strength along with Kaido and Big Mom up there. And Law was rendered incapacitated when he soloed him, so not focusing on Doflamingo. So honestly, I probably agree with Oda. It was very good that they took care of him in Dressrosa rather than saving him for Wano. The next question that was asked is in reference to the rest of the Straw Hats that do not have Devil Fruits, and what Devil Fruit would they have if they did have one. This is the biggest one, because right out the gate, Oda gives us the potential Devil Fruit for Zoro, and he specifically states the Uo Uo no Mi mythical model Seiryu, otherwise known as the legendary fish fruit mythical model Azure Dragon, which is Kaido's Devil Fruit. We have now gotten Kaido's full Devil Fruit name. Oda didn't even wait for the actual chapter to drop. He just drops this information on us in an SBS, which is just crazy. So Zoro would get Kaido's Devil Fruit, or more specifically, Zoro's sword. So just imagine Zoro with 3 swords, and one of them has Kaido's Devil Fruit. It turns into a dragon. That would be insane. Next, we have Nami, who would get Eneru's Devil Fruit, the Goro Goro no Mi, otherwise known as the Rumble Rumble Fruit. So she would basically be an electric human, and that would work so perfectly with Nami. She would be rendered untouchable by most people in the world, minus Luffy, because of his natural invulnerability to lightning. But with Nami, how she handles her climate attack right now, she would probably be able to take over the world single-handedly with that Devil Fruit. She would be that strong, and I am really confident saying that. Next, we have Usopp's fruit, which would be the Poki Poki no Mi, or the Pocket Fruit. It would grant him the ability to have an infinite pocket anywhere on his body, which would work perfectly for him since he has a lot of gadgets stored anywhere he needs to want them to be. So that would be a great Devil Fruit for him. Next, we have Sanji, who is the Sui Sui no Mi, or the Swim Fruit. That's interesting because we know previously Sanji wanted the Clear Fruit, but Absalom ate it, but now Shiryu has it on Blackbeard's crew, so that's out of the picture. But the Swim Fruit would allow him to swim on any surface except for water, because the natural vulnerability of Devil Fruits is water, so that would be interesting. Then we have Frankie's fruit, which is the Buki no Mi, or the Arbs fruit, which would give him the ability to create weapons anywhere on his body or turn himself into a weapon as he pleases. So those are the Devil Fruits that the Straw Hats would have, and all of these make sense for their character. It would be amazing, but we need one person to not have a Devil Fruit so that they can save everyone else. This is insane. Thankfully, this information was provided by Artur over at the Library of Ohara, who is great at deciphering all of the information that we received in this SBS. So if you guys are interested, check out the link in the description. He also did a fan comic of the return to Reverie, of what possibly might have happened there, and it's a great depiction of what might have happened during the Reverie that happened over the course of Wano. So that's done by Artur with illustrations depicted by Gemini. But with that, guys, on the cover page, we have Reiju being given a flower by a scorpion, and it seems to be that she is in the desert. So it seems that this scorpion is trying to profess their love to Reiju by giving her this cactus flower. So it's a little funny, but let's jump right in now. So we pick off where we left off last chapter with Luffy throwing an onslaught of attacks at Kaido, just completely decimating him with all of these punches to the face, guts, head, all of that. He is unleashing everything in his power to to punch Kaido. And you can see the Supernova down on the ground seeing this all happen. And Luffy is starting to wheeze, which is a big red flag for him, since we know that Gear 4 takes a considerable amount of haki from him. And once he's out of Gear 4, he loses the ability to use haki for at least 10 minutes. We don't know if that's different now since he is trained, but I'm gonna guess that it is. But Kaido is just taking all of this attacks, and Big Mom is obviously worried. And then with that, Luffy unleashes one final punch, punching Kaido square in the head and down into the roof of Onigashima. Kid sees this and he is surprised that anybody's able to do this much damage to Kaido, because Luffy is actually hitting him. Every one of those hits contains Rio, so he is getting damage from inside and out. So on the next page, we get Kaido laying down there on the ground, beaten up, and Big Mom just yells his name. But with that, Luffy has lost Gear 4. He starts blowing out all of the steam and flying away like a balloon. And to Kid's surprise, since he's never seen Gear 4 Luffy before, he's like, when did you get hit? Because we need you right now. You were decimating him with those punches. But Law tells him, nah, that's just a side effect of that technique. It grants him a lot of power, but the drawback is he cannot use haki for 10 minutes. So Kid doesn't know about Gear 4. Law knows about it to some extent. He doesn't know that Luffy has been training since he broke out of Udon prison. I'm really guessing that the time limit is substantially lower now for it. On the next page, Kid says, well, that's great because we need all of that damage, so him using it makes sense. And then we get Big Mom saying, that was your limit? Fine, I'm gonna capitalize on this. And she starts attacking Luffy, who is down on the ground, but Zoro comes in clutch, picks up Luffy before he gets cut, and Killer and Kid are going after Kaido, who is also down, so they're capitalizing on that advantage that he is not up, and attacking them with all of his tornado strikes and wind sights and borrow breaths, all of that. They're going right for him, and they're gonna attack him. But Big Mom is not gonna let that happen and uses counter shock to strike both of them or stop them in their tracks. Kaido gets up, and that's the problem. Kaido gets back up after all of that, and then starts a new attack where he coils himself around and goes into the air and creates tornadoes, several tornadoes on the battleground. And we see this. There's tornadoes going all around the battleground and lightning striking everywhere. And Zoro is just like, oh, are you kidding me? This guy is literally a natural disaster. And Luffy is just, oh, thanks, Zoro. Like half conscious, just not moving at all. But because of the tornadoes, Luffy flies out of Zoro's hands and gets eaten by Kaido. That is insane, because what are they gonna do now? Zoro sees this and says, nah, don't go eat my captain. And he cuts Kaido on his scale. And that's something we have never seen. We've seen Oden cut Kaido on his underbelly, but no one has damaged Kaido on his scales. This is something new. And now Kaido is seeing the threat that is Zoro. Zoro is unleashing the full power of Enma while also cutting Kaido in his dragon form. But Kaido notices that there is some strange haki emanating from Zoro, and he pinpoints that it is his sword. So he realizes that this is Oden's sword that Zoro is using. But to his surprise, he's like, oh, that's how you're damaging me? Fine. But I don't think that's how Zoro is actually doing most of his damage, because the last time he used all of that haki, he cut that horn right off of Onigashima. I think this is actually Zoro just with training through Enma, controlling his haki. I think he's actually doing this on his own, because he didn't reference Enma this time. But Kaido says, you dare challenge my Dragon Twister, and unleashes a newer one called Dragon Twister Demolition Breath. And this one sends a whole bunch of wind scythes out towards the supernovas. Kid seems to block it by using his mech's arms, which is fine because he'll just rebuild them back because of his devil fruit. Law uses shambles to dodge the attack. Zoro holds on to Luffy and seems to barely dodge the attacks. Killer seemingly deflects them with his blades, which is another thing. Not even Killer did physical damage. Apparently that was sound damage, which I missed last week, but he does deflect them with his blades, so I'll give him that. We don't get to see much from Killer this chapter, but the work he put in last chapter was real good. Back in the banquet hall, we get the allies fighting with what appears to be the Oniwabanshu and the rest of the Beast Pirates, and they're just saying, wow, there's a fierce battle going up above. love because Rubble has been coming down here for a while. And then at the bottom of the page, we get a strange panel depicting somebody playing Go while also saying, "Good grief, our business partner is dead, and the party we're invited to turns into a battlefield," showing Orochi's head on the floor and them playing Go. That is crazy because on the next page, we get Cypher Pole Zero still in Wano country, which spells doom for both sides. How are they still here? Orochi's dead. I thought they left, to be honest. I didn't think we would see them in the banquet hall. I thought maybe they would come in on their boats with some more Marines backing them, but Zero is just chilling here in the hall. So that means Kaido actively knew they were here because Orochi was coming and he brought them here. Last time we saw them was at the beginning of Wano country when they were meeting with Orochi, and Orochi shot one of them after they said, "No, we're not bringing Vegapunk to you." So while two of the members are playing Go, the other one is narrating the events that are unfolding. One of Kaido's henchmen is reading off the numbers, saying that enemy infiltrations at 5,400, but 400 of them have already been beaten. Meanwhile, their side has 30,000, but they have also lost 3,000. So it seems like the Alliance is doing some really heavy damage, but they are still taking heavy losses since they have lower numbers to compete with. But they're doing some really good damage. But Cypherpole commends them for their brave assault by using a sneak attack to attack the Beast Pirates while they were unaware of their presence. But he brings up the point that if Kaido's top performers are left to their own devices, they could easily wipe out 100 of the Alliance easily each. And I would have to agree because his Toby Robo are really powerful and his calamities are super powerful. So they could wipe them out easily. On the next page, we get panels of each of the Straw Hats going up against some of the Toby Robo. We get Frankie going up against Sasaki, Sanji, I'm assuming running away from Black Maria, Usopp, Nami, and Tama running away from Page 1 and Ulti, Jinbei fighting Who's Who, and we get a panel of Yamato, Momo, and Shinobu still in that hall with the dragon statue, that ace punch. And the guy from Zero is just saying, if the new generation cannot stop those officers, the black pieces will be overrun on the game board, referring to the Go board that they're using to reference each of them. And then on the final page of the chapter, we cut back to the roof to see all of the supernovas. They seem very beaten, and we get a panel of Kaido's hand, seemingly still in his human form, but with claws and scales, showing that this is Kaido's hybrid form. And he says, "Hey Linlin, this is fun," and starts to laugh. And Big Mom agrees with him, saying, "I was just thinking the same thing." Now, for my thoughts, I give this chapter a solid 10 out of 10. With everything that we got this chapter, there wasn't much fighting, but what we did get was some really interesting stuff to go over. So let's start with Kaido's hybrid form. Kaido's hybrid form, it looks like he still looks the same. So he's still in silhouette, so he still looks the same. The only difference that I can tell from his silhouette is that his horns that are there when he's in his dragon form are still there, so that's a new addition. And his hands look like they're claws with dragon scales and talons still attached. So my theory is still hanging on by a little thread, but if we get something equally as cool, I'm still gonna be happy. That theory was still fun to make, and whatever we get is gonna be amazing anyway. And then we still get Kaido's devil fruit name from the SBS that dropped this week. That was insane how Oda just dropped the Azure Dragon or Seiryu just right out the gate. Next, let's talk about Luffy running out of haki. This is interesting because Luffy, when he uses Gear 4, he runs out of haki, and to get it back quick, he can't move. But if he can still move, he just won't get his haki back as fast. So Zoro carrying him is definitely a plus, but the time limit is probably drastically decreased because his time staying in it has increased. And we just see Luffy busting it out whenever he needs to now without using it against big names. Like, he was gonna use it against Ulti if Yamato hadn't come in and saved him. He used it back when Kinemon and the rest of them were traveling to Onigashima, and he started off the battle using it. So Luffy is not afraid to use it. It's becoming more apparent that he can use it whenever he needs to, but there are still drawbacks to it, but those are greatly decreased, and his time spent in it is greatly enhanced. Next, let's actually talk about Zoro cutting Kaido. Zoro cut Kaido's scales. That is different from what Odin did. Odin cut Kaido's underbelly. Killer did didn't actually cut Kaido. He used sonic sound vibrations to give the illusion of cutting Kaido, which is what I missed last week. So this is the first time anyone has cut Kaido on his scales. This is a big deal, and we need to pay attention to this because I don't think Zoro was using Enma solely for this. He didn't reference it, and he was using his 3-sword style. He wasn't using 1-sword style like in the last chapter. So this is a 3-sword style attack from Zoro, and he cut Kaido. So this is dangerous. Kaido needs to watch out because Zoro is coming for him. Lastly, I want to talk about CP Aegis Zero still being in Wano. Why are they still here? The last time we saw them was in the beginning of Wano, and since Orochi is dead, they have no reason to be here. But they did bring up an interesting point that if both sides of these pirate groups take each other out, the Marines would be in a very good position to finally take control over Wano and use their resources. So I'm thinking that they're here to use the confusion from both groups after Kaido and Big Mom are defeated and Luffy and the Alliance are substantially weakened to take over Wano and get control over it. If they take over Wano, they get their abundant resource of Sea Stone, which is the only thing that can harm Devil Fruit users and negate their powers. Also, they get the refinement of Sea Stone because the world government can't refine Sea Stone as well as the people of Wano. So if they get control over it, everybody in the world that has Devil Fruits can be dealt with by the world government. But those are just my thoughts. Again, guys, if you enjoy my content, make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.